Picture this. It's March 30th, 2020, and the Caribbean Sea is unusually tense. A Venezuelan patrol boat, the Naguarta, spots a ship on its radar. Believing it to be a simple cruise ship that has wandered into their waters, the crew decides to investigate. The vessel they are approaching is the RCGS Resolute, a German-owned cruise ship registered in Portugal. It's not just any cruise ship. It's specially designed with a reinforced hull for navigating icy polar waters. The Venezuelan crew, armed and ready, makes contact with the Resolute. They order the captain to follow them to port, accusing the ship of violating their territorial waters. The captain of the Resolute explains that they are in international waters and have been drifting for a day, performing routine engine maintenance. They even reach out to their head office in Germany, who confirms their position and advises them to stay put. But the situation escalates. The Venezuelan crew, perhaps frustrated by the lack of cooperation, makes a fateful decision. They open fire. The crew of the Resolute hears gunshots ringing out across the water. Then, things take a dramatic turn. The Naguarta doesn't just circle the cruise ship. It deliberately rams the Resolute's starboard side. The goal was likely to force the larger vessel to change course and head toward the Venezuelan coast. However, they made a massive miscalculation. Ramming a ship with an ice-strengthened hull is like punching a steel wall. The Naguarta, a much lighter and less durable vessel, bore the brunt of the impact, while the Resolute sustained only minor scratches. The Venezuelan patrol boat suffered catastrophic damage. Water began flooding its compartments, and the ship started to sink. The crew of the Resolute, seeing the Venezuelan sailors in distress, immediately initiated a rescue. They stayed in the area for over an hour, contacting the Maritime Rescue Coordination Center in Curea to manage the situation and offer assistance. After confirming that their help was no longer needed and that the Venezuelan crew was being rescued, the Resolute continued its journey to Wilhelmstad. Tragically, the Naguarta sank, but thankfully, all 44 crew members were rescued. Now, let's look at this from a different angle. What was going on politically at the time? Just a few days before this incident, the United States had indicted Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and other high-ranking officials on charges of narco-terrorism. The U.S. also announced a massive counter-narcotics operation in the Caribbean, deploying Navy destroyers, combat ships, aircraft, and Coast Guard cutters to the region. The stated goal was to cut off drug trafficking routes that were allegedly funding the Maduro regime. So you have a highly charged atmosphere. The Venezuelan government is feeling cornered, and the U.S. is flexing its military muscle right on their doorstep. It's within this context that the Naguarta encountered the Resolute. Could the Venezuelan crew have mistaken the cruise ship for something else? It's possible. Tensions were high, and mistakes can happen in the fog of political conflict. The official response from Caracas was swift and defiant. President Maduro accused the Resolute of being a pirate and terrorist ship, claiming it acted aggressively. He even suggested, without any evidence, that it might have been carrying mercenaries with plans to attack military bases in Venezuela. He praised the heroic actions of the Naguarta's crew and posthumously promoted the deceased commander. This narrative painted Venezuela as the victim of foreign aggression. It was a classic case of turning a military blunder into a story of nationalistic pride and defiance against a powerful adversary. The government framed the incident as part of a larger plot by the US and its allies to destabilize the country. On the other side, the owners of the Resolute, Columbia Cruise Services, firmly stated that their ship was the victim of an act of aggression. They released a detailed timeline of events supported by maritime tracking data, showing they were in international waters and had acted professionally throughout the ordeal. They emphasized that the Venezuelan Navy had fired shots and then rammed their vessel without provocation. The international community largely sided with the cruise ship's account. Maritime experts pointed out the absurdity of a naval patrol boat ramming an ice-class vessel. It was seen as a reckless and unprofessional maneuver that backfired spectacularly. The incident didn't become a major diplomatic crisis between nations, but it did highlight the volatility of the region and the potential for miscalculation when military and political tensions are running high. So what really happened? Was it a simple case of a naval crew making a terrible judgment call? Or was it a deliberate, albeit poorly executed, act of intimidation fueled by the political climate? The truth probably lies somewhere in between. The Venezuelan government was under immense pressure, both internally and externally. The presence of U.S. warships nearby undoubtedly created a sense of paranoia and heightened alert. It's plausible the Naguata's crew was on edge, looking for any sign of foreign intrusion. In their eagerness to demonstrate strength and control, they may have acted rashly, failing to properly identify the ship or assess the risks of their actions. The official story from Caracas was likely a way to save face and rally support, transforming an embarrassing failure into a tale of heroic resistance. This incident serves as a fascinating case study in modern maritime encounters and the power of political narrative. It shows how quickly a situation can escalate and how easily facts can be spun to fit a particular agenda. It's a story of miscalculation, unintended consequences, and the high-stakes game of international relations playing out on the open sea. While it didn't lead to a wider conflict, it was a stark reminder of how close we can come to chaos when communication breaks down and aggression takes the wheel. It also reveals something about the state of Venezuela's military at the time. The loss of a patrol vessel in such a preventable manner raised questions about the training, discipline, and readiness of its naval forces. For a country trying to project an image of strength, it was a significant blow to its credibility. Ultimately, the sinking of the Naguata was a bizarre and almost comical tragedy. It wasn't a U.S. carrier that was fired upon, but an innocent cruise ship. The response from Washington was not a military strike, but continued diplomatic and economic pressure. The chaos in Caracas was not from an external attack, but from the internal political and economic turmoil that the incident momentarily distracted from. It is a story that is less about a grand naval battle and more about the strange and unpredictable things that can happen on the world's geopolitical stage. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into fascinating world events.